Hello everyone, welcome to Lighthouse for All. John has put some objects in a bag for me to feel. I think I know what this one is. And I think that's a badge. I think that's a Jenga brick. But I have no idea what that is. The only way I can be really sure what they are is to open the bag and pull them out. Yep, I was right. It was a badge. And it was a Jenga bridge, and it was a bulldog clip. I thought that too. But a little bit of macaroni pasta shape, I certainly didn't know about that. Today we're going to be hearing about Thomas, who wanted to see for himself before he believed that Jesus was alive. What do we know about Thomas? Well, he was one of Jesus' disciples. Do you remember the time when Jesus and the disciples were in a boat? An enormous storm rose up. Well, Thomas was there. Jesus was in the boat. He was exhausted. He was sleeping. Suddenly this huge storm came up. The wind, the lightning, the waves rose high. The disciples, even though some of them were fishermen, were terrified and woke Jesus up. Don't you care? We're going to drown? Jesus stood up and just put his hand up and calmed the storm. Suddenly the wind left. The waves were calm. The sea was calm. 1 minute it was storm, 1 minute it was calm. Thomas was there. Thomas was there when Jesus fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And there was loads of food left. When Jesus' friend Lazarus was ill, after a couple of days, Jesus told his disciples he was going to Jerusalem to see him. The disciples didn't think it was a good idea and reminded Jesus that the Jews had tried to stone him in Jerusalem. But Thomas said, "Let's go with him so that we might die with him." Thomas showed how brave and loyal he was. But seeing Jesus being arrested, knowing he had been crucified, must have been a huge shock to Thomas. This was the man that he had been following for 3 years. The one that they all thought was the Messiah, God's special one, who was going to rescue them just as God had promised. But it looked as if everything had gone wrong. And then Thomas heard from the women that they'd seen Jesus and he was alive. But was he? Could it be true? It just seemed too much to believe. And then when Jesus appeared in the middle of the locked room a week later and showed himself to the disciples, Thomas wasn't there. And when he heard, could it be true? Jesus was really alive? He appeared through locked doors? It was just too much for Thomas. Too big a miracle for him to believe. And he said to the others, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my fingers where the nail were and put my hand into his side, I won't believe." Another week later, Jesus appeared in the middle of that locked room again. "Peace be with you," he said. He wasn't cross and said, "Oh, Thomas, how could you not believe?" He wasn't disappointed and said, "I might have guessed that you wouldn't have believed." No. Jesus dealt gently with Thomas. He said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and look at my hands. Put your hand here in my side. Stop being an unbeliever and believe." You see, Jesus cared. He wanted Thomas to believe, and he knew exactly what Thomas needed. Thomas said, "My Lord and my God." I imagine Thomas kind of falling down on his feet, his knees, and looking up at Jesus saying these words. And Jesus said to him, "You believe because you have seen. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me." And that's us. We haven't seen Jesus in person in front of us. But Jesus said, "Blessed are those who believe without seeing me." When Thomas was sure that Jesus was alive, it affected the way he lived. He spent the rest of his life telling people about Jesus. And it's believed he went as far away as India and died there. I expect you have questions you would like to ask Jesus. And do you know we can do that in our prayers? Jesus may use different people to give us answers. So keep your eyes and ears open for an answer. I wonder what difference it makes to us that Jesus is alive today, knowing that God is with us in these strange times. Maybe you could make a card for someone to cheer them up. Maybe you could make a thank you jar, like mine here. I covered a box and wrote things down. One thing each day to thank Jesus for. It may be that someone was really kind to you, somebody who was ill got better, or the sun was shining and you got out to play. But let's make our lives different because Jesus is with us. Let's pray now. Father God, thank you. Thank you that you are alive today and with us, wherever we go, even though we cannot see you. We pray, Jesus, that you would make a difference in our lives, just like you did in Thomas's. Amen. Well, see you next week.